we're at a moment right now in marketing where technology is making it cheaper than ever before to leverage the data. But the thing is, while marketers recognize the opportunities, most organizations are not investing in building this underlying infrastructure that allows you to create these powerful marketing campaigns.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, your go-to guide to solving your biggest marketing agency challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what agencies go through, from turning clients to tackling tech and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing agencies like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode inspiration, motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling agencies like yours. Now, in a world where many agencies rely on standard framework or playbook for every client, it's kind of refreshing to find a consultancy that starts from scratch, building bespoke strategies that truly meet the unique needs of their clients. How do they achieve that level of customization? Why does it even matter? Today, we're joined by Zontee Hou, a leading marketing consultant and head of Convince and Convert. Zontee's consultancy is renowned for creating impactful, tailor-made strategies that fit the diverse and ever-evolving needs of their clients. We'll dive into how she and her team at Convince and Convert approach this intricate process, the challenges of hiring the right talent, and how they ensure their strategies are actionable and effective within their clients' organizations. If you're looking to move beyond generic playbooks and craft strategies that drive real results, this episode is for you. Hey, Zontee, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike, for having me. I'm so pleased to be here.
So excited to chat. Can you start by just kind of explaining what sets Convince and Convert's approach apart from agencies that maybe rely on that set playbook that they run over and over again for every client?
Absolutely. I think that the reason that we are so set on a bespoke approach is really because we were founded by Jay Baer, who you may know as a marketing guru who really practices what he preaches. And, from his seminal work, Utility, we really came to a very content marketing driven, value driven approach to marketing, right? And one of the things that I think Jay has always emphasized to me and that we've taken forward with the company as we've evolved and grown is the importance of truly understanding the customers so that the marketing is clearly aligned to business goals. And so when we are working with our clients, we are helping them understand their customers. And therefore, when we build the strategies, we really focus on not only what are the unique needs of those customers, but how their decision making is impacted throughout the marketing funnel, right? And then the other piece of it is, of course, the maturity of the clients, right? I'll give you two examples of clients that are in the higher education space that we've worked with recently. One university is one of the top private universities in the US, and they came to us as a very mature organization. Their digital marketing approach was very advanced already. They're already really successful with influencers. They're really successful with content creators. They're really successful at creating unique content for specific audiences. Now, what they wanted to come to the table and work with us on was really making sure that they were extremely future looking, being on the cutting edge, really thinking through how they could build the right marketing engine within their organization in order to achieve those goals. That's a very different set of needs and recommendations that we would make for them than another client that we're working with currently that is also a university, but smaller, more rural, much less advanced in terms of their current team and their resources. And their goals are really to make sure that they not only have a healthy engine, but that they're hiring up a team that can allow them to become true players in their space, where again, they have some very specific needs in terms of their in market or in state audiences. So we're designing a strategy for them that is going to look a little bit more like the basics, that focuses more on hiring, that focuses more on operations, and also helps them really think through what is level 2 and 3. Right. So we go from a major university where, again, they're extremely advanced and we're really looking at levels 7 and 8. They're already leading in the field. They're trying to be more cutting edge, right? Versus someone who is really coming in to level set and make sure they've just got the right machinery within their organization. So I think that that's why it's really important for us to come to the table and be really thoughtful, strategic, and unique with each of our clients. We're not just building a strategy that helps you achieve your goals, but we're helping you build a team and an organization that can meet business objectives.
So first, a big shout out to Jay. Jay Bear is a great longtime friend of the brand, a personal friend of mine. He's fantastic. I love his continued content. His focus on tequila is just absolutely fascinating. But I love everything you just said. It makes a lot of sense that different organizations, particularly at their different levels of their maturity when it comes to marketing, are going to need different approaches. So how do you even start? How do you begin to craft that kind of a custom strategy for each new client?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time we're coming in with clients, we're counseling them on the research that needs to be done. Now, of course, some clients will have some existing research that they have done, either surveys, focus groups, third party research, a combination of those things, plus, of course, social listening and voice of customer data. Once we have that material compiled, we'll identify where the gaps are. Now, I'll give you an example in the B2B SaaS space, right? So, software as a service, we came in to work with a client where they said to us, we want to reach actually agency owners, right? They wanted to understand, how do we reach agency owners with content that is going to be really compelling to them and it's going to bring this new audience to the table, because that was a space that they wanted to grow. They had some specific conjecture about what they thought agency owners would care about. They were like, they're going to want cutting edge information about trends. They're going to want to understand, content from marketing experts. But in fact, Mike, it's the stuff like you and I are talking about today that marketing agency owners actually wanted to know about. When we did the research, we fielded a survey and asked agency owners, what do you want to learn about? What do you care about? What are the business challenges that are at top of mind? It was things like growth, scaling, building the business, pivoting when you have a challenging field in front of you because your main line of, vertical has collapsed, right? Those are the things that agency owners actually wanted to know about. So by conducting that research, we were actually able to go back to the client and say, listen, you had a hypothesis about what you thought this content marketing strategy might look like, where you wanted to go with it. But in fact, it's the wrong direction and it's not going to be valuable for the audience that you really care about reaching. So, what if we take this different approach to the content marketing and we design a program around these specific needs? Now, that allowed us to not only have a lot of credibility, but a lot of specificity in terms of the content marketing strategy we built for them. And then when it came to the tactical execution, right, we were building them an influencer program where we were able to identify people who spoke specifically to agency growth, to scaling a team, to identifying, different technologies that are really valuable for agency owners. And of course, yes, there was a little bit of trends information there too, but really specifically focused to those agency owners. And again, you guys in the audience know exactly what I'm talking about. We are really focused on a lot of those day-to-day challenges. So by building a content marketing strategy that spoke to that, we were able to build a program that was so impactful. The campaigns that came out of it, we ran multiple times because we had so many agency owners sign up to get that content and learn from that program. And for them, they got tons and tons of MQLs that they found were exactly in the sweet spot of where they wanted to be. And I think that's the example of where I would start, right? If you don't have the research at hand, doing the research is critical because you might have hypotheses, but they might not necessarily hold true. And in fact, I have some clients who are in the financial services space. We're talking, multi-million, multi-billion dollar companies where I'll say to them, well, what research do you have about your customers? And they'll say, we don't have any formal research. This is what we think we know based on conversations with our sales team, conversations with our, accounts teams. And that is good information, don't get me wrong. But if you do not go out and actually ask questions of your audience about what they care about, what's on their mind, what are their priorities, then oftentimes you put emphasis in the wrong places. And I'm not saying that, asking your questions of the audience is always the most accurate, because people will always say to me, well, customers don't know what they want. You would never have gotten the iPhone if you asked people what they wanted their phone to do, right? I agree with that. I get it. Sometimes there's innovation, but oftentimes that innovation comes from what we call cultural anthropology, right? Observation. If you have the opportunity in certain industries to observe how people behave out in the world, you are also able to come back with research that is really valuable. I love the example of Sephora. It's actually one that I share in my book, where they noticed that whenever people walked into their stores, they would pull a notebook or their phone or something out of their pocket or their purse and look for the colors that they had previously purchased. And for Sephora, that was a learning that allowed them to realize they had an opportunity to create a really great app that would do that work for their customers, which not only deepened their
Mm.
relationship with their customers, but allowed them to have more data to offer more personalized and relevant recommendations to their clients in the future. Because again, they had the online offline kind of experience merged into one. But that came from this research that their internal team was doing. So whether you're the agency making the recommendations to your clients about where to start, or you're the client and you're saying, hey, like we want to go out and hire an agency, I think knowing that you have to have high quality research is the first step.
Absolutely agree with that. Resonate with everything you just said. We have a community of agency owners that are using Agorapulse, and one of the questions we ask them before they join the community is, "What are your top challenges? What are your top pain points?" And consistently, the number one answer is how to grow and scale my agency, which is why for 4 years running now, we've been hosting a massive virtual event every year called Agency Summit, where we bring in, TikTok and LinkedIn, and then agency consultants, 100% to help those agencies grow and scale their business. But I want to back up a second because I think some folks listening might be thinking to themselves, "Oh, well, maybe Convince and Convert can come up with a custom strategy for every single client, but that's not me. My agency is different because of X, Y, or Z." Could you just share a little bit more about the services that you guys offer and the kinds of clientele that you have? What is Convince and Convert as an agency?
Sure. So Convince and Convert as a consultancy really focuses again on the strategic aspect of the work most carefully. We are actually owned by LT Lane Terlever, which is a larger agency out of Phoenix, and so they often are our partners when it comes to additional executional work, right? So if you come to us for a social media strategy, an overall digital marketing strategy, a content marketing strategy, and then you say, "Hey, we need additional executional work," our team at LT will also help you build the website, build the emails, send out those emails, and create a social media calendar that you publish every day. We consider our work at Convince and Convert really focused on the strategy piece, because sometimes we're working with teams who already have agencies in place, or who are going to do a lot of the execution in house. So we are not necessarily doing that part of the execution, but we sometimes do support some of the execution. Our work is really about building the strategic and operational plans that allow teams to take a strategy and put it into action. Now, sometimes that comes in the form of maturity maps, sometimes that comes in the form of trainings. We do a lot of trainings for teams, and sometimes that comes in the form of ongoing strategic advising. We're working alongside of them on a quarterly or even monthly basis to make sure that they're continuing to reach their goals, and make sure that they're getting that high level expertise where we're really deeply diving into topics with them. And our main industries are higher education, financial services, healthcare, and technology. We have done a lot of work in the home builder space, in the travel and hospitality space. Visit California was a client of ours for many, many years. We've also done work in, I mentioned hospitality before, brands like Caesars Entertainment, PF Chang's, Hilton, etc. So, in some ways, I think the reason that we're also very open to a bespoke approach, and that we feel very strongly about that, is because we have worked with organizations in so many different industries. I mean, Mike, I've worked with clients that range from, health providers in the addiction space to folks who are associations for sports fishing. So it really means that we have to be adaptable and understand the unique challenges and needs of an audience in each of these different specific industries, and really quickly become experts in that specific set of needs.
I definitely love that you're taking that approach with your clients, and you're looking at each business as it is truly unique. Yes, they could be in the same vertical, the same geography, or whatever as other businesses that you've worked with. That's great. That gives you more experience in that particular industry, but you still take that unique approach. So when you're building that kind of tailored strategy for each organization, what are some of the key factors that you're coming up with?
Yeah. I think that first of all, when it comes to strategy, right, there is no point in building a strategy that the organization cannot execute. So we are understanding the unique makeup of the organization itself, the org chart, but also the politics, right? What are the considerations that this particular marketing team, communications team, or task force within the organization is facing? We're also looking at, from a bandwidth perspective, what are the resources that they have at hand? What are the resources that they need to fight for so that we really get what is the environment in which we're building strategy? We're also building the strategy, as I mentioned before, of course, based on the unique needs of the customers, but not all customers, right? I have had folks come to me and say, we've got 32 different personas that we've designed, and it's pretty difficult for us to market to them because there's so many. And I'm like, yeah, because that's kind of an overwhelming way to do your marketing, right? Like, what kind of organization has 32 personas unless they've got a huge marketing engine, right? So, one of the things that I'm often counseling our clients on is understanding who are your best customers? Who are the customers that we absolutely have to go after in order to be really effective? That is a really important part of the marketing strategy because we don't have the resources to go after every audience. We need to really hone in on the most valuable audiences and then really design a strategy that helps us win them over as a priority while also bringing along other folks. I'll give you an example of a client that I think has done a great job of this, which is Sam's Club. So, of course, Sam's Club is the big box retail sister of Walmart. They are selling large quantities of all kinds of things, but they also have a great selection of unique offerings, especially seasonal stuff. So now in the summertime, you can go and get your inflatable pool, for instance, which is something that I think I need to pick up for my toddler daughter, by the way. And they really honed into some very specific kinds of audiences who were their highest value audiences. The people who love to host other folks at their homes, they love to entertain. Those are the people that actually it makes sense for them to spend more energy going after, right? And this is something that they talked about on our podcast, Social Pros, that, once they really identified that as an audience that they wanted to go deeper after, they were able to work with us on here's some different ways that we can do some really unique programs and campaigns that speak to those audiences. Happy hosts are likely to buy a lot. They like to buy in quantity, right? Because they're going to have a whole bunch of people over, and they're likely to repeatedly buy and therefore want a go-to resource. So it of course makes sense for a company like Sam's Club to want to go after them. It makes much more sense for them to go after that than every single kind of buyer within their community, because again, some people are going to come along for the value, they're shopping, it's a habit, etc. Those are not the people you necessarily have to win over. We've got to win over the people who can be convinced, but again, also are likely to then become loyal customers afterwards. So I think helping our clients prioritize their audiences is the second piece. And then I think the third piece of it is really understanding what is their maturity level, right? Not every client, as I mentioned earlier, is ready to go whole hog on a particular kind of marketing space, right? You can say, I could design the best influencer program for you. But if they don't have the budget, the bandwidth, and the desire, then it doesn't make sense for us to go all the way into an influencer program, right? On the other hand, if you're an organization like Sam's Club, where they're like, we are ready, we're mature, and we can execute on recommendations specific to a robust influencer program, then let's go after it. Let's do it, right? So I think by being really thoughtful about again, the culture of the organization, the audiences that are of the most value to go after, and the maturity level of the organization of where we are now, where we should be in 12 months, where we should be in 3 years, that really helps us to figure out what is the right size set of recommendations. And I'm going to be honest with you, Mike, we didn't come to this on day one. I will be very honest. This is my own fault that when I started with Jay about 10 years ago, I was young, I was a little naive. I wanted to go whole hog and everything. I would write these strategic recommendations for our clients that were 100 pages long of like, here's everything and the kitchen sink of things that you should do. And clients were like, this is exhausting. I can't
Yep.
do this. I don't wanna do this. It sounds so terrifying. And we realized, and I realized that I needed to scale back. And really now we really focus on here are the things that you must do today, not everything that you could do, right? Here is what you must do today.
It's one of those seemingly counterintuitive aspects of marketing. Niching down, focusing, limiting the audience seems always like it's not the best move, but so often that's what really pays out. Folks, I hope you're understanding why they're called Convince and Convert, because Zontee Hou is laying all kinds of really fascinating and insightful comments left and right, talking about balancing unique and innovative strategies for clients while also maintaining consistent, scalable, and repeatable processes. And I've got a bunch more questions for her, but before I get to those, let me share with you an aspect of Agorapulse that can help you deliver on that consistency for clients.
I actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agora Pulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So Zanti, you talked about how when you started 10 years ago, you wanted to throw, everything in the kitchen sink at new clients and you've evolved since then, right? But I imagine now when you're hiring new people to join your agency, you're probably trying to make sure that they don't also take 10 years to figure out not to send everything and do 100-page, recommendations to clients. How are you identifying and hiring talent who are capable of the kind of strategic thinking that you guys are becoming known for today?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I certainly think that whenever you are an agency owner, hiring is one of the most challenging things that you can do, or when you are managing and being I think, leader within the organizations, you're always identifying talent, right? Some of the things that we are looking for within our organization are people who have really done the work, who have led either teams within organizations or been on agency side for a long time. They're bringing their years of experience to the table, but they are also really fantastic storytellers and translators of key insights, right? In our line of work, it's not only our job to become experts in our clients and their industry quickly, but it is also really important that you are excellent at synthesizing information, distilling down the research and the findings, and then pulling out the insights that then lead to a strategy that your client will not only agree to, but also really benefit from. Then our job is to turn that strategy into a set of frameworks that is really easily let's say, socialized within the client's organization, because there we're not just bringing along our direct client contact, right? We're making sure that the executive suite is saying, yes, that's the strategy from a marketing perspective that we want to implement. And we have to bring along all of the people who are doing the execution within the organization. So whether that is junior people or people who've been there for 20, 30 years, we need to make sure that we've turned our strategy into a set of frameworks and processes that they can truly buy into and really use on a day-to-day basis. So we're looking for people who are really excellent, I'm going to say, communicators and teachers of strategic thinking. Now, over the years, we've had quite a lot of people within our team who've also taught in a college or a grad school classroom, myself included. I, for many years, taught at the City College of New York and at Columbia University. And I think that some of those skill sets overlap. I tell people that, when I'm speaking on a stage or I'm doing my consulting work or I'm in the classroom, the work is similar in the sense that I'm teaching marketers how to implement processes and methodologies and strategies for themselves. So that really takes, again, not only the ability to socialize it and explain it, right? But to make it meaningful in a way that they can build on top of it. And I think that it is difficult. Like, don't get me wrong, Mike. Sometimes I feel like hiring is the most challenging thing I do,
Yep.
but it is very rewarding because when you find people who are great translators like that, you can see that they really make a difference. We've had so many clients who tell us repeatedly, so and so, my strategist, the person that I'm working with, is truly like a member of our team, truly transformational in the way we think about marketing. And I find that so rewarding. And so that's always very exciting. To be honest, am not necessarily looking for people with a specific kind of background. I think you have to have a certain number of years of experience to, of course, be able to bring that to the table. But we've had people who've been in marketing for, 10 years. We've had people who've been in marketing for 20, 30 years. And like, each of those perspectives is going to be valuable. The more important thing to me is that they are really excited to do that work of synthesizing information, extracting insights, and doing the work of translation. If that feels like it's something that it's really exciting to you, then that's the kind of person that I want on my team.
That's brilliant because, what you're talking about is making sure that we have our own internal standards and processes that we can follow. And that gives us the framework and the approach that we can then be consistent, even though we're being creative and new and innovative and bespoke for every single client. I mean, these podcasts that I'm doing are an excellent example. I'm not asking the same questions of every single guest that comes in. And yet I still have a standard approach and a framework and a process that I'm following for each and every episode that allows me to save time. And when I'm preparing for each one of these guests, and terrific, amazing people like you are coming on and giving us all kinds of value, but I'm not just regurgitating the same content, the same questions over and over again. But my next question is about your book. You just kind of flew right by the fact that, oh yeah, I've got a book earlier on. Can't let you just drop that without actually elaborating. Tell us about your book. Tell us about
Sure.
data-driven personalization and the role that that plays when it comes to developing these kinds of unique strategies and any other insights that you might like to share from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to hold it up so that you can see. So this is data-driven
Yeah.
personalization. And I'm so thrilled to have it now available everywhere books are sold. It has been a true labor of love. It took me about 9 months or so last year to write it, just after I had my daughter. In fact, so people joke that I had two babies in a row, and I was
Yes,
like,
you
it's not.
did.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie. It took about the same amount of time. Um, and the book is really about why marketing leaders need to have a seat at the data table and to truly have a data driven strategy that really focuses on the needs and wants of the customer and aims to offer them a more personalized experience with the brand. Now, I think that this is particularly useful for agency owners to think about because I think it's an opportunity for us to lead with our clients in terms of thinking, because I wrote the book at this moment because for the last 15, probably even 20 years, we've been talking about how now that we're in digital marketing land, we should be able to know more about our customers than ever before, or connect the dots and really understand exactly who's buying what. But Mike, you know as well as I do that, unless people are doing a great job of using Agorapulse, many of times there are dots that are not yet connected, right?
Mhm.
And because of that, we often miss out on key insights that would help us focus on those best customers that we talked about before, and also identify who are our next best customers to go after. One of the examples that I share in the book is one that many listeners may actually be familiar with, which is that in 2002, Target, big box brand as well, they decided, their marketing team decided, we want to go after newly pregnant women before they have signed up for any lists for, baby registries or to get free samples or anything like that. So they wanted to win them over in the first trimester. And the reason they wanted to do that was because in the first trimester, nobody else has that information. And these newly pregnant women are likely to be building habits that then make them loyal customers in the future, right? The marketing team went to the data analytics team, asked them, hey, could you figure out a way for us to get this data out? What are the attributes that allow us to identify somebody? It took them 6, 8 months to figure it out. They finally figured out a model that indicated things like, you suddenly stop buying scented lotions and shampoos and you go all to, non-scented things. You stop buying this, you start buying vitamins, right? There were a couple of basic behaviors that they could kind of identify and say, this is likely somebody who is in their first trimester. And the campaigns that the marketing team was then able to run against that were so successful that they were identifying people before their families even knew that they were pregnant. And
Wow.
so it was very, very powerful stuff. Now, again, this is in 2002, and it took a huge company like Target 6, 8 months to use their data analytics team to like query this information out. But you can see how powerful it is to win over these people before anybody else has that advantage, right? That gives you a competitive advantage. Now, we're in an age when AI actually makes it relatively easy for us to add a layer of intelligence on top of our data. And if you had a good data set that was united, you could ask them, identify all of our customers who are currently pregnant, who've identified that they're pregnant, identify what they were buying in months like 1 through 3 of their pregnancy. What are the patterns in there? Now identify and create a segment of people who look exactly like that, right? In just a couple of queries, you could do that. So we're at a moment right now in marketing where technology is making it cheaper than ever before to leverage the data. But the thing is, while marketers recognize the opportunities, most organizations are not investing in building this underlying infrastructure that allows you to create these powerful marketing campaigns. And that's why marketers need to have a seat at this table. If we don't do the pushing because we know what the possibilities are, nobody else in that organization is going to be doing that pushing. I promise you, there is no IT team or analytics team that's thinking about how do we win over this, really special audience before anybody else gets to them. They're not asking those questions. We are asking those questions. And that's why I think that marketing has to be leading this approach to a truly data-driven strategy when it comes to organizations who want to build a competitive advantage. And that's why I'm excited about the book.
That's awesome. First of all, congratulations on the book. It is a huge accomplishment. I've been there. I've gone through those pains and the struggles, and God love editors, but I don't want to work with an editor ever again in my life. It's such a pain. But to your point, that's such valuable information. I will absolutely share with all of you listening links to pick up that book and ingest it into your entire organization, because obviously you're not going to be able to just go to your data team and say, hey, I'd like you to do this. You're going to need some buy-in from that team and your leadership. So on that note, Santi, do you have any final advice for folks who are looking to either do more data personalization or just have these kinds of bespoke strategies in place in their organizations, in their agencies, and try to work with clients on that kind of personal level? What advice would you share with them?
Yeah, well, I think those two questions kind of tie together. And it's really about this idea that ultimately, by knowing our customers better than our competition, truly understanding what it is that drives them, why they make decisions, who impacts their decisions, what's their consideration set, how long are our relationships with them, we can make better marketing decisions, build more powerful campaigns, and be more effective than our competition. And so I think if you are starting to recognize that there are gaps in the way you understand your audience, I highly encourage you to not only pick up the book, of course, but to really do the work of really understanding what your opportunities are to build better customer profiles, because it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. I'm not telling you go out and build a giant data warehouse that is as powerful as Amazon's or Netflix's, right? I'm telling you to start recognizing the power in collecting data and information about your customers in a formalized and organized way that allows your marketing team to ask better questions, build better hypotheses, and run better tests that are ultimately going to result in more valuable, more powerful, and more highly converting work and campaigns from a marketing perspective.
Santi, this has been an absolute delight. We've had Jay on other shows and summits, and honestly, this has been an upgrade. Thank you. You're absolutely brilliant. For folks who want to know more and learn more about your Convince and Convert, where should they go?
Our website is convinceandconvert.com. We have a fantastic newsletter. Nearly 100,000 marketers are subscribed. We have a really fun and enjoyable blog that has really valuable articles for all marketing leaders. And we have our Social Pros podcast, which is for digital marketers, more specifically in the social media space. And I've got a companion podcast for the book, which is called Data Driven Decisions, which is a special limited series that's running this summer in its own feed. And you can find that wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including this one. So Data Driven Decisions is definitely something that I would love for you to check out as well if these conversations are resonating with you.
That's awesome. I didn't know about your podcast. I can't wait to check that out. Folks, we'll have the link to that and everything else that Zontee and I talked about in today's episode in the show notes. That's all we've got for today, friends. Don't forget to find us on Apple and drop us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkinsporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.